The day you stopped reacting didn't look dramatic. There was no confrontation, no final message, no moment where power was openly taken or lost. But something irreversible happened. The moment you stopped reacting emotionally, the entire dynamic shifted, and she felt it, even if she couldn't explain why. Most people think power is loud. They think it comes from words, from control, from who speaks last, or who wins the argument. Stoic intelligence understands something far deeper. Real power lives in restraint. It lives in the ability to feel pressure without obeying it. And the day you stopped reacting was the day that pressure stopped working on you. She didn't lose power because you challenged her. She lost it because you stepped out of the structure that allowed it to exist. Reaction was the fuel. Attention was the access point. The moment you withdrew both, the system collapsed quietly on its own. This is what Stoicism has always taught. You don't defeat influence by fighting it. You defeat it by mastering yourself so completely that influence has nowhere to attach. Calm removes leverage. Stillness removes control. This video is about that invisible shift. The moment reaction ended, the moment composure replaced impulse, and why that single decision, quiet, disciplined, and unseen, changed everything. If this resonates, take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to Stoic Blessing, and turn on notifications to become a Stoic soldier. Because Stoic intelligence isn't about outplaying others. It's about governing yourself so well that the game ends entirely. Power was never in what she said or did. It lived in how you responded. Every reaction, every explanation, every emotional shift, every attempt to restore balance kept the dynamic alive. Stoicism teaches that reaction is permission. The moment you react, you allow something external to enter your inner world. She didn't need to force anything. The structure ran on predictability. Silence made you uneasy. Distance made you reach. Uncertainty made you explain yourself. Each reaction confirmed that your calm depended on her behavior, and that dependence quietly handed over control. Most people misunderstand this. They think control comes from dominance or manipulation. Stoic intelligence sees it more clearly. Control survives on access. As long as someone can provoke emotion, they have influence. As long as they can trigger reaction, they have leverage. The moment you stopped reacting, that access closed. Not with anger, not with confrontation, with composure. And composure, once consistent, cannot be overridden by pressure. This is why reaction was the real source of power all along, and why ending it changed everything without a single word being spoken. When you stopped reacting, nothing exploded. There was no emotional release, no final argument, just a quiet absence where your reactions used to be. And that absence was felt immediately, not as rejection, but as a loss of influence. Stoic intelligence begins with recognizing that not every stimulus requires a response. Silence is not a threat. Discomfort is not a command. The Stoics trained themselves to pause where others rushed, knowing that the pause itself dismantles emotional traps. You didn't suppress what you felt. You observed it. You allowed emotion to rise and fall without turning it into action. That choice broke the cycle. Reaction needs momentum to survive. Once momentum is interrupted, the entire structure weakens. This is where freedom appears, not dramatic freedom, but stable freedom. You stop being moved by silence, distance, or expectation, and when you stop moving, the pressure that relied on movement has nowhere to go. She didn't feel challenged. She felt something far more unsettling: irrelevance. Not because you disappeared, but because your emotional center was no longer accessible. And once access is gone, power dissolves quietly, with no resistance and no return. Silence backed by discipline changes everything because it removes feedback. There's no emotional signal to read, no reaction to adjust to, no response to push against. Stoic intelligence understands that influence depends on information, and silence starves influence completely. Anger gives something to manage. Sadness invites reassurance. Even explanations keep the exchange alive. But calm silence offers nothing. It neither confirms nor resists expectation. It simply exists. And that existence is destabilizing to any dynamic built on reaction. This is why silence feels heavier than words. Words extend the moment. Silence ends it without confrontation. And when the moment ends, so does the leverage that depended on it. You didn't withdraw to make a point. You withdrew because you no longer needed to participate. That distinction matters. One is strategy, the other is intelligence. Stoic intelligence doesn't manipulate. It disengages from what no longer serves alignment. When silence becomes consistent, it stops being interpreted as emotion and starts being recognized as resolve. And resolve, once felt, permanently alters how power is distributed, even if nothing is ever said again. Stoic intelligence isn't about knowing the perfect response. It's about recognizing when response itself is the mistake. Most people believe strength is shown through expression, through saying the right thing at the right time. The Stoics understood that restraint is often the higher form of intelligence. You didn't stop reacting because you ran out of emotion. You stopped because you saw the pattern. You recognized that every reaction cost you clarity. Every emotional reply pulled you back into a cycle that benefited repetition, not resolution. Awareness ended what emotion kept alive. This is the difference between suppression and governance. Suppression hides emotion until it explodes. Governance allows emotion to exist without letting it rule behavior. When you governed yourself, you preserved your dignity and your perspective at the same time. She didn't lose power because you became cold. She lost power because you became aware. Awareness removes the blind spots where influence hides. Once you see the mechanism clearly, you can't unsee it, and you can't be controlled by it again. That's the quiet edge of Stoic intelligence. It doesn't overpower, it understands. And once understanding replaces reaction, the entire structure collapses under its own weight. The real shift happened inside you, long before it was visible on the outside. Your emotional center moved back where it belonged. You stopped outsourcing your calm to response, reassurance, or outcome. Stoic intelligence teaches that when your peace depends on something external, you are already compromised. As you stopped reacting, urgency dissolved. Silence no longer felt threatening. Distance no longer demanded explanation. You realized that stability doesn't come from control, it comes from alignment, and alignment cannot be manipulated. This is where power truly disappeared. Not because you took it, but because there was nothing left to influence. No pressure point to press, no fear to exploit, no reaction to provoke. Control requires access, and access was gone. She didn't lose something you held over her. She lost something you had been handing over unconsciously. The moment you closed that channel, the dynamic reset itself. Stoic intelligence understands this deeply. It doesn't chase balance, it embodies it. And once balance is internal, nothing outside you can disrupt it without your permission. This is why control cannot survive indifference. Control needs engagement to stay alive. It needs reaction, explanation, emotional movement. The moment engagement ends, control doesn't fight back. It fades. Stoic intelligence understands that the most effective way to end a dynamic is not to oppose it, but to stop feeding it. You didn't resist. You didn't argue. You didn't try to reclaim power directly. You simply became unmoved. And unmoved presence is something most people don't know how to deal with. There's nothing to negotiate with, nothing to push against, nothing to escalate. The Stoics believed that the man who cannot be rushed cannot be controlled. When you stopped reacting, you slowed everything down. Pressure lost its urgency. Silence lost its bite. Even emotional distance lost its ability to shape your behavior. This is where influence quietly died. Not in conflict, but in calm. Not in confrontation, but in consistency. You remained steady while the old triggers failed one by one. And when triggers stop working, the dynamic they supported disappears with them, leaving behind clarity, composure, and a strength that no longer needs to prove itself. After that, the dynamic felt unfamiliar, lighter, quieter, almost neutral. Interaction, if it happened at all, no longer carried the same emotional charge. There was no urgency to respond, no need to manage impressions, no sense that one move could tilt the balance. Stoic intelligence had flattened the field. You spoke when you chose. You stayed silent when you chose. And that freedom is what changed everything. Power no longer came from who reacted first or who held attention longer. It came from who no longer needed either. The Stoics taught that autonomy is the highest form of strength. When your actions are no longer driven by impulse or fear of loss, you regain authorship over your life. Communication becomes intentional instead of compulsive. Silence becomes calm instead of tense. This is why the shift felt permanent. You didn't just stop reacting. You changed how you related to reaction itself. It lost its importance. And once something loses importance, it loses power. At that point, the dynamic wasn't broken, it was irrelevant. And irrelevance is something control can never survive. The most telling sign of Stoic intelligence is that you stopped keeping score. You no longer tracked who had power, who moved first, or what a response might mean. Those questions lost their pull because your inner state no longer depended on the answers. This is the final stage of the shift. Power dynamics only matter when you're invested in the outcome. When you become self-governed, power becomes unnecessary to measure. You don't win the game, you outgrow it. The Stoics believed that freedom is independence from outcome. When you stopped reacting, you detached from results. Whether contact returned or not, no longer defined your peace. Your calm was already intact. People sense this even if they can't explain it. They feel the absence of need. There's no emotional urgency to exploit, no reaction to provoke, no insecurity to press. You've stepped beyond the reach of the old dynamic. And once you reach that point, nothing needs to be said. The silence of someone who no longer needs control speaks for itself. The day you stopped reacting was the day she lost power, not because you took anything from her, but because you reclaimed yourself. Stoic intelligence teaches that mastery is not domination. It's discipline. It's composure under pressure. It's knowing when to remain still while others expect movement. You didn't disappear. You stabilized. You didn't withdraw. You aligned. You didn't become cold. You became intelligent. Reaction was the doorway. Silence closed it. And once closed, nothing external could reach your inner world without permission. If this message resonated, take a moment to like the video. Leave a comment sharing what changed when you stopped reacting. Subscribe to Stoic Blessing and turn on notifications to become a Stoic soldier. Because the highest form of power is not controlling others. It's mastering yourself so completely that control becomes irrelevant.